Ms. Hutchison, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Blattner?
Here.
Ms. Edison?
Here.
Mr. Derby?
Here.
Ms. Kolovitz?
Here.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Mr. Rowley?
Here.
Mr. Ham?
Here. Ms. Kolovitz, would you lead us in the pledge? Thank you. We're going to have communication from our host school. So, Dr. Schurer, could you introduce Dr. Brian Tarina, principal here at Weisbrook?
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Tarina, who is the proud principal at Weisbrook Elementary School. Brian has been the proud principal here for a long time, but District 200 staff member, committed staff member for even longer, having spent some time at Wheaton, Warrenville South. I do. Not going to like it when I kind of call this out and acknowledge it, but I must. Brian's been a phenomenal leader in our district. He is one of our principals going to retire at the end of this year, so I do want to specifically call out and thank Brian for his leadership. It is always a joy to come to this building and spend time with Brian and just see the passion he has for everything going on through the building. When you tour the building with Brian, you see the pride that just emanates from him. So Brian, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schuler. That actually was a really good transition to what we're going to talk about here tonight. So good evening, Board of Education members, Dr. Schuler, senior leadership team, and the District 200 community. My name is Brian Tarina. I'm the principal at Weisbrook Elementary School. I would like to welcome everyone to Weisbrook Elementary School, home of the Tigers. I've had the distinct privilege for the last 19 years to serve as the principal of Weisbrook Elementary School. At Weisbrook, our motto is, it's tremendous to be a Tiger. It's a living, breathing motto that you can feel, as Dr. Schuler said, when you step inside the walls at Weisbrook. Everything we do at Weisbrook is connected to this motto: academics, social emotional learning, relationships, activities, and most importantly, our culture. This evening, I invited two of our staff members, our PTA co-presidents, and a fifth grade student to speak to you about what our motto, it's tremendous to be a Tiger, means to them. So first, I'd like to start off by introducing Julie Rodriguez. She's our school social worker. Julie?
Hello, everyone. My name is Julie Rodriguez, and I'm the social worker here at Weisbrook. I'm also a 39-year resident of the Wheaton community. In fact, I graduated from Wheaton Central High School, for those of you who are old enough to remember Wheaton Central High School. I started my career here in this district as an intern in 1999 at Monroe Middle School, and my first job as a school social worker was here at Weisbrook, 25 years. So I feel like that is a true testament of what a wonderful community this is. We have a slideshow to show how wonderful our community is. I'm not sure how we click on that. This one?
You can try it.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. I'll let Sybil, our third grade teacher, speak to most of this. I'm going to say just how much I love coming to my job every day. And not just because of the fun things that we do here, and we'll talk a little bit more about that and the pride that we have being Weisbrook Tigers, but it's more the relationships we have here as staff. We truly care for one another, and we truly work together as a team and as a group. We support one another, and that helps make even those most difficult situations that we all have in every school building just more manageable. We come together, we communicate well together, and it's fun to come to school. It's fun to come to work. And I feel our students here sense that relationship we have amongst each other, and it helps build healthy relationships with our kids and a healthy environment for them to learn and grow. Some examples of how we build our relationships together is every Friday morning we come together here at Weisbrook for a Friday morning breakfast. Now I know that's not entirely unique to buildings, but ours I feel is really unique because you walk in the building, sometimes I'm running late, and you can hear the laughter coming from our teacher lunchroom. We all come together, nobody misses it. We do monthly potluck lunches together. Also, I know everything revolves around food, but that's the time that we all come together. Nobody really misses here. And we have fun together. We talk together. We celebrate our families. We celebrate our students, things that they're doing. It's a positive working environment. Not only that, we have fun in this lunchroom that you're in right now. And you can see a picture up there. Mr. Szymanski is our PE teacher. He runs a lunchroom, but he's not alone in here. We have teachers coming in and out all the time. We have music playing. We have games at our lunch table. I feel like so much of what we do here at Weesbrook is all about building those positive relationships. With Brian as our leader, who truly promotes that amongst all of us, it makes for just a happy learning environment for our students. Beyond the supportive stuff, I'll just give two other things that we do here that might not be unique to Weesbrook, but I feel it's pretty special. When it comes to the holiday times, we support our families. And we do that through a Tiger Paw Christmas tree. And that's where our staff actually buys gifts, not just for our students, but for all family members that might have a need that year. We also have something that I feel is kind of exclusive, is a Caring Cats, catch the word cats for tigers. It's a Caring Cats fund that our staff and our parent group has the option to contribute to. And those funds are used throughout the school year to support all families. If a crisis comes up, if there's a clothing need, if there's school supplies needed, or maybe there's an event that a family's just fell on hard times and can't pay for it. So we have that fund that is funded by our staff, and it's also funded by our parents to support all our students all year long. So I think that's pretty special too. But most often, I think our students feel the pride and feel the positivity that we all feel here as staff. And I think that's what makes us such a special place. Obviously, I've been here 25 years. I'm gonna pass on to Sybil, who's gonna explain more of our slideshow and some of the fun events that you see there.
Hi, my name is Sybil Scacia, and I'm going to talk about a few things about why it's tremendous to be a Tiger staff member. I've been here in Wheaton most of my life. I wasn't a Tiger or a Falcon, but I'm proud to say my kids were Tigers and went through the school system here. I've loved living in this town, and I absolutely love teaching here in Wheaton. I've been teaching at Weesbrook for 8 years, and I can truly say this is my second home, as I think most of our staff would say as well. The minute you walk into our building, you can sense that and feel the community of respectedness, being valued, dedicated, caring, and hardworking amongst all our staff members. Who along the way, we also have some fun, like Julie had said. So some of these things here at Weesbrook is to engage our students and staff and parents. There's a few things we've done, and one of the big things, if you ever want to see this or feel this at Weesbrook, is come to our fall festival on October 31st, and we're in this room, and it's just electrified with engagement and excitement. We do this whole thing about tigers and falcons, and the kids just absolutely love it. So, and we have a blast with it too. We usually dress up in costumes as a theme. We did the emotions last year, and kids, again, loved it. One year we did the Barbie theme. And then we do a dance, and the kids look forward to that and have so much fun with it and talk about it year after year after year. And they always say, what are you guys gonna be? And it's always a secret. So that's just one of the things. Another thing we started last year with our math coach, Katie Glinke. We formed a committee and we started a math night. So we felt like parents needed to be engaged using the IM curriculum. So they came in and some of the students were teaching the parents and other family members or guests how to play those games. So it was really fun. We had a great time. And we're gonna continue that this year too. And then another thing we do, just for positive reinforcement, and a lot of times you don't see teachers that are in first grade or fifth grade because you're kind of in your little bubble, or at lunch, do you have different lunches? But at staff meetings, what we do at the end is Brian says, do you have any shout outs? And that's just a time for us to all say thank you to each other, or if someone did something for you, and it's very heartfelt, and it's just a nice time to say thank you to somebody if they did something for you. Then the other thing we like to do too is also just do celebrations of things that are happening or events that are happening in people's lives. And just this past week, we celebrated Brian's birthday. And I know he wasn't, excited that he was the star of the show, but when he was out of the building at a principal's meeting, when he came back, we got all the students to fill the hallway, and you can see in the picture where it says the Tiger Hallway. We all came out and sang happy birthday. And again, like the students were just so excited. So I love being here. I know all our staff members do too. And that is kind of why we love our motto of "It's tremendous to be a Tiger." Thank you.
Thanks, Julie and Sybil. That was awesome. Whoops. Whoops. Okay, there we go. Okay, now I'd like to introduce our PTA co-presidents, Cassie Hopkins and Aaron Carson.
Thanks, Brian. I'm Cassie, and this is Erin. We both have fifth graders, third graders, and first graders here at Wheatsbrook. So we've been here since kindergarten, 6 years. And we're happy to serve as co-presidents this year as the PTA. I just wanted to talk really briefly about the community here. I think probably all of the schools in the district could rave about their community, but I don't know the other schools in the district. I only know the great community that we have here at Wheatsbrook. From the parents to the friendships within the students, and even the relationship between the staff and the teachers and the parents. I'm just so grateful for that. So some of the things for the PTA that we do, Tiger Picnic, we kick off the school year with a whole picnic for all the families here. I think we ordered 700 or 800 items from Chick-fil-A this year for everyone to come together. They play football and they do chalk and play on the new playground, and it's just a time to come together and kind of kick off the school year, get to know friends, see friends you haven't seen all summer, and it's a fun way to start the school year. We just this last Friday had our Tiger Trot. Mr. Szymanski and Mr. Gatlin, our PE teachers, set up a really fun obstacle course outside, and the students come class by class or grade by grade and run the obstacle course. It's also one of our main fundraising events. And then in the spring, we have trivia night where the parents can come together, and we usually do themed tables, and then there's voting on who has the best costumes. So I think some of the costumes that have won were SNL. I'm trying to remember who else. We had a Barbie theme. And so that's been a lot of fun, both for the students to have the Tiger Trot and then for the parents to have trivia night. We have family art night, which is in this room. It is packed, it is loud, it is chaos, it is creative, and the kids look forward to it every single year. That's a highlight. Explore More Day is towards the end of the year, and the tagline is "It's the best day ever," and all of the classrooms are filled. It takes hundreds of volunteers. That's our largest volunteer committee to have that day run as smoothly as it does, and to have dozens and dozens of different classes and opportunities for the students to experience things from decorating donuts to riding a horse to speed and agility. I mean, you name it, we've tried it, and the kids love just experiencing different events through the day. They get to do 6 or 7 classes and experience different things. Some of the clubs that we run, we have STEAM Club, Chess Club, and Game Clubs, and then we also have Junior Great Books and Battle of the Books. We support field trips and assemblies, and we were really excited this year just to launch our birthday book program. So as a PTA, we purchase enough books so that every student in the school, the week of their birthday, can come to the office. They get a shout out, and then they get to choose a book. And so we were really excited to be able to launch that this year. I know some of the students have already collected their books, and we've heard great things about it. Aaron's daughter has a birthday this week, and she was really excited to come home with her new book. And then one last thing I'll say about the community is you can see the picture up there of the basketball players with the blue background. That is actually Mrs. Scacia. She has taught now 3 of my children. She has my 3rd grade twins this year. But 2 years ago, this was my oldest son's basketball team. So she had, a couple of years ago, was teaching kindergarten, and she had these 6 boys. And when they came into 3rd grade, she gathered her little kindergarten boys together and had them again for 3rd grade. And I won't probably ever forget that curriculum night, sitting in her classroom. I already knew her from kindergarten, but hearing just her passion for teaching and for the students, and not just for their learning, but for them as little humans. The care that the teachers here at Wheatsbrook show the students is so good for my mama heart. When you send your kids off to school, especially little kindergartners, frankly, even 5th graders, there's a level of trust that you have to have in the adults that are taking care of your kids. And the adults in this building are fantastic. The community is so strong. And I remember her saying that night, a couple of years ago at curriculum night, that if your kids have recitals, if they have basketball games, if they have soccer games, let her know because she wants to come support her students even outside of the classroom. And she was a rock star that night. She came and the boys were so excited to see Mrs. Scatia at their basketball game. And so that's just one of so many examples that I could give of the great community that we have here at Wheatsbrook that we're really grateful for, and as co-presidents, we're really happy and proud to support. So thank you so much.
I'm not a talker. I will just say that I attended Wheatsbrook for kindergarten, so I'm excited to be sending my kids here too. And as I said, I'm not a talker, but I was happy to join the PTA with Cassie just because of the community here. It's just really amazing. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Aaron, and thanks, Cassie. But now it's the time for the star of our show. We need to hear a student voice of what our motto means. It's tremendous to be a Tiger. So we have a fifth grader here behind me, Jace Hall. He's in Mrs. Fox's class, who's here also, and he's going to come and tell you his thoughts.
This is good enough.
That's good enough? You're good?
Good evening, Dr. Schuler and Board of Education members. Thank you for being here tonight. I'm looking forward to sharing something tremendous with you. All right. Hello, District 200. Do you want to learn why Wheatsbrook is tremendous to be a Tiger?
Yeah.
Well, the words that I, Jace Hall, am saying right now are going to show you why. You see, here at Wheatsbrook, we teach children to learn, grow, be safe and respected, and to enhance their creativity every single day. This is simply one of the reasons why you have to be a Tiger. And to do that, you have to learn to be honest, to be kind, and to help others. And also, for those of you who hate math, because I'm sure at least some of you hate math, whenever you're trying to do math and you're thinking, oh man, why is math so hard? You have to learn that you have to remember that even though math is pretty frustrating sometimes, we still have to give a level 9 trillion effort. Plus, another rule that I suggest is always do good. You will receive a lot of good in return. And that proves that you have the heart of a true Wheatsbrook Tiger. Can I see some hearts right now? Thank you. But whenever you're being mean to someone, that means that you aren't a Tiger. It means that you're one of the school's enemies, the Wheatsbrook Falcons. Now, I know that some of you, when you walked in here, see those little Falcon posters on the hallway. That is something that we do not want at school. You have to learn it's tremendous to be a Tiger, not a Falcon. Join the good side. The Falcons are big, mean birds that cause chaos around the school every October. So they're pretty bad. So that's what the Fall Festival is for. The Fall Festival is an epic assembly where Tim the Tiger, the teachers, the students, and you team up together to defeat the boss-level bad guys, the Falcons. And eventually, you do. Everything goes back the way it was, all the Falcons disappear, and it's all fun and games until next October. Anyways, now that we've talked about all of that, let's get back to the special events. Wheatsburg School has a lot of entertaining events, like holiday parties, Explore More Day, a tiger picnic, field trips, and lunch groups, and all that other stuff. And speaking of lunch, in Wheatsbrook, you could be able to eat in other classrooms, like Mr. Sun's room, Ms. Rodriguez's room, and possibly your classroom's room. Not only that, you can watch movies, play board games, and create your friendship bond with others. And you can play video games. Hold on a second. This is in parentheses. Please note that you are only allowed to play video games if there is no school during the week or next week, so don't get too excited. Yeah. So, what are you waiting for? If you want to learn, have fun, and become a tremendous tiger, Wheatsburg School is calling your name. Adventure awaits. Now pack your bags, get on that bus, and let's go! Thank you.
Well, I think you can see why it's such a privilege for me to be principal at Wheatsbrook, and it truly is a joy to come to work every day. You saw, first of all, our teachers, just the passion they have for being here and teaching and working with our students. You saw the commitment from our PTA presidents, and you got to hear one of our students, do you feel how connected he is to the school? And as Julie was saying, that's so true throughout our entire school. So that's a little story about what it's tremendous to be a Tiger. So thank you for entertaining us and listening and letting us share our story.
Well, that was tremendous. Thank you. Young man, you're going somewhere someday, man. That was outstanding. You really did a great job. Yeah, thank you. All right. Board, are there any modifications to the agenda? Hearing none. Dr. Schuler, we're on to recognitions and achievements.
Yeah, I'm going to bring Dr. Trina back up to the podium. We've started a new tradition at our board meetings where we provide an opportunity each meeting to do a community recognition. We've recognized individuals that have been involved in key programs and some of our pathways work, and I always give our principals an opportunity to recognize a couple of community members that have been extremely instrumental, valuable connection points to the school. So Dr. Trina, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, thank you. I had written a little something up and I can't find where I put it, but I will just do it from the top of my head. I'd like to recognize sitting behind me our PTA co-presidents, Cassie Hopkins and Aaron Carson. Their unwearying dedication to help in any way improve our school and most importantly support our staff, our students in the community is just amazing to watch. A couple examples this year, I know they increased through their PTA budget. They wanted to find more ways to give more financial support to our classroom teachers. They are really committed to finding ways to get more opportunities for our parents to get into classrooms and being able to volunteer. And then one thing that just really stood out to me this summer, we had our floors redone and we had our playgrounds redone outside. And if you remember there in the early August days, how hot it was, remember it was like 100 to 110 it felt like. They were here day in and day out doing beautification on their own for hours each day in that heat. And they couldn't have been more thankful. Their dedication is just simply tremendous. I so appreciate having them as co-PTA presidents, and I told Dr. Schuler they're going to be here. There's no better people, I think, to recognize to the amount of contributions and support they give on a daily basis to our community, our staff, and our students. So, Cassie and Aaron, thank you.
All right, on to public comment. So we have two public comments tonight. Two people signed up for public comments. I'm going to read a little introduction. Thank you for taking time to share your feedback and thoughtful focus on our students, school district, and community. It's the board's practice not to directly discuss communication from the community until the context is understood and the information explored. It is not our intention to signal a lack of interest, and we appreciate your understanding. Depending on the number of people signed up to speak during public comment, Board Policy 2.230 enables the time per speaker to be reduced from 3 to 2 minutes, allowing more people to share their perspectives. Tonight, we will not have to reduce the time for each speaker. To maintain confidentiality, the board asks that any matters concerning personnel or students be communicated to the board privately. When we meet, it's important that we all treat each other with kindness and respect. We set an example for our schools and desire to honor that by being courteous in our public comments. Let's work together to lead with positive intent so that our democratic process reflects the best of our community. To help us follow up if needed, please include your name and if you're a resident of the district. To ensure everybody has a chance to speak, Ms. Kulovitz will raise her hand when 15 seconds remain as a reminder to wrap up your thoughts. At the end of our agreed time, I will respectfully ask you to allow the next speaker to begin. Thank you for investing time to attend the board meeting tonight and share your thoughts and encouragement for our district. So our first speaker tonight is Michael Lafida.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to respectfully request our school board and district adopt a clear policy on American flag etiquette when multiple flags are displayed in our classrooms. Here's a little backstory. In August, during curriculum night at Wheaton, Warrenville South for my sophomore, I noticed the American flag in the back of the U.S. history classroom, and it was much smaller than a larger flag prominently displayed on the whiteboard in the front of the U.S. history class near the teacher's desk. I think it's common sense that in any public school classroom, the American flag should be the largest and most prominently displayed. When I spoke to the teacher, he told me the district has no policy on the American flag display inside the classroom other than it needs to be displayed in the classroom. On September 10th, I reached out to Jeff Schuler, who said he'd get back to me on this. It's now been 5 weeks, and I still haven't received a response from Jeff or anybody. That delay tells me either this issue isn't being prioritized or it's fallen through the cracks. Either way, it deserves attention. My request, I'm asking the district adopt a policy ensuring the American flag is always placed in a position of honor in every classroom. To conclude, unless a clear flag etiquette policy is established, issues like this will continue. I ask that you take a stand, do the right thing, and put a policy in place for the district to ensure, as the American Legion states, the flag of the United States is always placed in a position of honor and superior prominence. I printed off an American flag etiquette from both the American Legion and other respected references on American flag etiquette. I appreciate your attention to this matter. I'll leave these with you, Katie, and pass them along. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second speaker is Tom Aiello.
Thank you. I'm Tom Aiello, a proud U.S. Army veteran and Wheaton resident for more than 27 years. First thing I want to say is that I fully support displaying different flags in our classrooms. I'm proud that we live in a nation where people are free to express themselves. That's part of what makes America exceptional. Most veterans hold those freedoms especially dear because we've seen what it costs to protect them. At the same time, I see a lot of division in our country right now. But here's the truth. When you're in a foxhole, you don't ask a soldier next to you about their politics, religion, or who they voted for. You stand together, united, under one flag, the American flag. For me, that flag reminds me that despite our differences, we are one people. Making the American flag the largest and most prominent flag in a classroom isn't about politics, it's about unity. It's a simple, powerful way to remind our children that what binds us together is stronger than what divides us. Yes, let's celebrate diversity and teach our children to respect every background and every belief. But let's also remind them that above all else, we share one identity. We are Americans. The American flag isn't partisan. It belongs to all of us, no matter who we are or where we come from. It represents the promise that in this country we can disagree without being divided and stand together when it matters the most. Displaying the American flag most prominently says to every student who walks in that room, you belong here. You're part of something bigger than yourself. That's what I fought for, and that's what countless Americans gave their lives for. And that's what I hope we continue to teach, not just with our words, but by what we choose to honor in front of our students every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ayala. All right. We are on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Schuler, any topics to report to the board at this time?
Yeah, I'm going to first hand it over to our student ambassadors so that our student ambassadors can give their building reports. So guys, if you wouldn't mind bringing those reports up.
Hi, so we're gonna show you what's going on at our school this month.
Guys, I think you've got to advance over there. Thank you.
Okay, so this month we've had a lot of things going on with our athletics. We had a lot of senior nights going on. We had flag football, we had tennis, cheer, dance, and also actually regular football too. So we've been having a lot of senior nights recognizing our seniors for their commitment playing for various years on a sport, and we celebrated them. We also, girls varsity golf went over Wheaton North, and they actually advanced to sectionals, and they're gonna play in, I think, sectionals this week, I'm supposed. And so we also did win over Wheaton North 14-0 on football last 2 Friday nights ago, the week of homecoming. So that was fun. No, sorry. Wheaton North was last week. Sorry. Boys golf had some big wins. They were regional champs, and they're actually going to sectionals. So that's amazing. Both golf teams are doing amazing this year. And then girls cross country actually ranked top 15 in the state, which is awesome. I mean, they're such a good team, and I'm very proud of all of them. Okay, so we did have homecoming, and homecoming was so fun. We actually, our football game, we won that night. So like the hype was up, everyone was really happy the day before homecoming. It ended off the school week very nice and chill. And we actually had a lot of fun activities going on. Monday we had pajama day, and we also had vendor day that day. So we had different places like Chick-fil-A, we had Nothing Bundt Cakes, we had a coffee truck. So we had a lot going on Monday. And then Tuesday we had like Hawaiian shirts and stuff like that. And then after school we had main event. So all students from all grades came to main event and had some fun with pizza, games, whatever they wanted to do. Wednesday was Hawaii is in this closet, is this in my closet? So people wore the most randomest things. I actually came to school in a taco outfit, so that was really fun. And Wednesday night, we actually had a parade for all activities outside, and we were throwing candies. I was there representing NHS, and then there was also a lot of different clubs and sports there. It's really nice. And then after that, we actually had movie night, so Moana movie, had to fit in the Hawaiian theme. Everyone was laying on the football field with their blankets, friends, and then like a whole projector. It was super fun. And then we had just a lot of fun that day. Thursday was Aloha Tiger Nation, so you wore your tiger spirit because we had no school Friday. So everyone wore their tiger shirts, 12th man, their grades, just like representing our school. And then we actually had a really fun assembly during school, really fun. And it was Moana theme actually. So that was really fun. And then Saturday was homecoming, and homecoming was amazing. I thought the turnout was really cool. I think over 1,600 students came to the homecoming dance, which was awesome. and people danced till like the lights went on, everything, just like it was super fun. It was put together actually by our student council and executive board, and we actually had a lot of school spirit that week. So homecoming was amazing this year. Activities, we actually had a really successful play called Pinkerton, and we actually invited third graders to come watch the play. It was really cute. I actually watched it, and it was really cute. And then we also had Hall of Fame, and we had 6 inductees. So they all were previous Wheaton Warrenville South sports, played in athletics, and they were inducted. And then we're celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month. So we have in our speakers, after the bell ring, we have some music going on for them, showing our love to them. And yeah. And then also, since October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we wear pink on Wednesdays. So today, actually, a lot of people wore pink shirts for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it was really fun. And then also, we have many concerts coming up. We have band, we have choir, and orchestra concerts coming up soon. So a lot of activities going on at our school.
Okay, so on the more academic side at South, we recently recognized our National Merit Scholars, and in the, I think, 3 weeks, we will be having our next National Merit PSAT testing for juniors. We've had multiple college workshops for seniors this year, including a COD application workshop, a FAFSA workshop, and a financial aid night, which have been very helpful. We recently finished our teacher-parent conferences, and we'll be beginning our ALICE training soon. I would like to highlight our business incubator classes. I'm personally in this class right now, really enjoying it. It's really helped me develop my skills in communication and just entrepreneurship, which has been very helpful. In the class, students create businesses and pitch them. Teams have met recently with teachers and like other community members to get initial feedback, which is pictured on the right there. And as of right now, teams have chosen ideas and have started development on their products. It's a great class. I've really enjoyed it. And yeah, shout out to that.
All right, good evening, board. I'll kick off Wheaton North's presentation for this board meeting. So to begin, it's a bit out of order. Could we move on to the slide with DECA, if that's possible? The activities update. Okay, sorry, we had updated our slides and I guess it didn't update on here. But we had DECA kickoff last Friday, which I also happen to be the president of this year, so it's a great honor to kick off such a well-renowned activity, international activity that we get to have at Wheaton North for the first time. And last time I checked, we had about 115 people in the student classroom, in the Google Classroom. So we hope to get far in the competition, hopefully regionals and state, and maybe we get some national qualifiers, which the competition is in Atlanta, Georgia this year. So hopefully we have, you know, a few groups making it to Atlanta this year. Model UN is practicing for their main conference, which is going to be in Chicago later in February. Paws, which is a club based around dogs, had their first canine unit visit at the school last week. And Connect More, which is a brand new club at Wheaton North, had their first meeting. And Interact Club, that number is actually inaccurate. We have 300 members this year, which last year was known as Key Club. We transitioned over to Interact Club, which is partnered with the Wheaton Rotary Club. So it's the most popular club at Wheaton North, and we have a ton of people volunteering, which is just great to have so many people volunteering out in Wheaton. Okay, and then we had some sports updates. So the Wheaton North volleyball team had a tournament in Wisconsin last weekend. They left on Thursday afternoon, I believe. With golf, we had Ari Savinock qualify for sectionals, and with boys golf, we had Henry Schlickman, James Gaither, and Andrew Mead all qualify for sectionals as well. Girls flag football, extremely popular at our school, like we mentioned in our last presentation. Right now, we're second in conference, and the first regional tournament game was yesterday. And girls tournament have a DKC tournament this weekend as well. So that's everything in regards to activities.
Okay, so here's the academic update. So college composition recently went to a field trip to COD, and there they learned about the various programs that COD has to offer, and a couple of the students also went on a little tour of the campus as well. AP Language will go on a field trip to H Mart as they just finished reading their book, Crying in H Mart. And AP Environmental Science recently visited Northside Park to gather data for their labs. And then in regards to college rep visits, we've had over 45 visits in October, September, and upcoming November. And there has been various universities that have come to visit Wheaton North, like University of Illinois, Michigan, Baylor, Purdue, and then many other ones as well.
For our performing arts update, our marching band performed at Romeoville High School this past weekend, and then our fall play Deadline, which is a murder mystery with a little bit of a comedy mixed in there, debuts this Friday, and then there's also two showings on Saturday as well. Our band has senior night on October 17th, and then we have 3 music concerts coming up. We have an orchestra concert on October 22nd at Wheaton North, a choir concert on the 28th at St. Mike's, and then a band concert on the 30th at Wheaton North.
Okay, I just introduced this piece as I could take on. So this year, I asked the student ambassadors on both sides of town to identify a project they wanted to work on this year. And so they've been working with some of their respective advisory teams that I'll let them tell you a little bit about, but I asked them tonight to come prepared to kind of elevate to the board the topics that they want to work on, with the intention of them bringing you some updates throughout the year of some of the work that they're doing. So it looks like we'll start with South.
All right, yeah, so at South, we decided for a year-long issue to kind of try to tackle, we're gonna try to make the bathrooms a more comfortable space. Overwhelmingly, as we talk to our student advisory, which is made up of around 40 selected students from all grade levels, and also from a school-wide survey last year, bathrooms popped up unprompted a lot. So that issues include kind of accessibility, cleanliness, air quality, privacy, security, comfort level, policies and procedures being followed, stuff like that. So our next steps are really trying to gather specific feedback and explore solutions on how we can make it a more comfortable space. We have a couple of good ideas brought up by our advisory board. So yeah, that's kind of what we're focusing on for now. I'd also like to mention a few smaller projects that we kind of learned about from those from the advisory meetings. We're also going to be setting up a weekly calendar for clubs and activities that students can see through our website so that they can better access dates and finding out what activities are happening at South. And we're also working on creating clearer communication on what classes students should take for certain colleges or degrees at South. So if you want to go into nursing, what classes should you take at South to lead you down that path?
For Wheaton North, we're currently throwing around a couple ideas here. The first one that we have discussed is extracurricular involvement and how we can kind of boost that and its correlation with different things. Our next step with that is looking into data that correlates a students' involvement in extracurriculars with their academic success and their attendance and things like that, and also like what kind of extracurriculars are in or how many they're in, and then looking into ways that we can boost that participation. And we're also looking into sending club ambassadors to Monroe and Franklin to help get our freshmen more involved right from the start. And then we're also looking into setting up a college and career fair at Wheaton North. So that would look like our activities fair that we have at the start of the year, where in our main gym we have a table with a bunch of different clubs, and students can go around and interact with the different representatives of the clubs. However, instead of it being clubs, we would have colleges and local businesses and trades send representatives to the gym so that people can communicate with them about their different opportunities after high school, just to increase awareness of post-high school activities. And then our next steps for that would be looking into the logistics of getting everybody in there and seeing how that would work. And then we've begun collaborating with our principals advisory committee to kind of look at other ways that we could improve Wheaton North and maybe see if there are other ideas that we want to incorporate as a project.
All right.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Can you just give us a brief overview of DECA, what that is?
I was going to ask the same thing, Dave. That was great.
Yeah, so DECA, I probably should have explained it a bit better. It transitioned from business club last year. So business club last year, we had a ton of people from, I shouldn't say a ton, we had about 3 or 4 people come in from different areas of business. So we had a person working an accountant came in, and I believe we had somebody working in private equity come in as well and kind of explain the business field. So this year, we're going to be more hands-on with that. So we're going to be exploring different sectors of, finance, private equity, investment banking, all of that, as well as social media marketing, just to name a few. And then we're going to implement that into a competition that's like all over the country. So it's a very prestigious competition. So yeah, there's going to be a regional, state, and national level. So we're going to be competing, just around business. There's different areas that students can be involved in. But yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a quick editorial note. When we were looking and exploring student ambassadors, a few of us were at a working session on that, and the best piece of advice we got was don't over-architect the student ambassador program, right? Let them kind of give them some structure, but let them kind of discover and evolve. Every year, our ambassadors have exceeded my expectation and continue to do so. Just some of the points you brought up are just fantastic. So I appreciate all the work the ambassadors do. And I know it's not a part-time gig, right? You're at it a lot and you got a lot going on. And so I appreciate you pulling all that feedback together and engaging with the students at the school. It really does matter and make a difference. So thank you. All right, on to the consent agenda. Items on our consent agenda tonight include acceptance of gifts from Sandburg Elementary School PTA, approval of bills payable and payroll, approval of minutes, September 10, 2025, regular meeting, open and closed, September 13, 2025, coffee with the board, open September 24, 2025, committee of the whole open, and approval to destroy recordings of closed sessions prior to May 2024 as allowable by law. Excuse me. And 4, approval of personnel report to include employment, resignation, retirement, and leave of absence of administrative, certified, classified, and non-union staff. Board, are there any items that you'd like removed from the consent agenda tonight? All right, hearing none. Dr. Schuler, any information for the board?
No additional information.
Board, any questions or comments? All right, so board, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Rutledge.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cullivan. Ms. Hutchison, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Rutledge,
Yes.
Ms. Cullivan,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Ms. Evison,
Yes.
Ms. Blattner,
Yes.
Mr. Derby,
Yes.
Yes. We're on to the facilities approval consent agenda. Those items include approval of resolution and final contract for guaranteed energy savings with Performance Services, Inc. for summer 2026 work, and approval to change the meeting location for the June 2026 regular board meeting to Hubble Middle School. Board, are there any items that members want removed from the facilities approval consent agenda tonight? Hearing none, Dr. Schuler, any additional information?
Yeah, just a little bit of clarity because those items sort of seem oddly connected together, but they are. So with the approval of the energy savings work, so that is a good chunk of your Sherman Durgis work for next summer that we vetted and worked through with the facilities committee. Some of that work is going to be focused at the school service center, which means that facility is not going to be available to us next summer. We have your meetings currently posted through June, so we just need to move your June meeting to Hubble. You will do the same thing for your July and August meetings, but that calendar is not yet approved and posted. Anything from the facilities committee on the first one?
I guess just, we did spend a fair amount of time reviewing it. It's a little different. So we use performance service to basically act as the general to get the bids and go through that work. And there's some guaranteed savings and fees for them to do that. And we talked about how that's a little bit different than some other projects where we go out to bid ourselves. We just, I don't know if beat it up is the right word, but talked a lot about that and got a little bit of history of how we have reviewed that in the past, when Mr. Paulson was involved, just to make sure that we are, confident we're getting the best prices. So we were, very comfortable with as it was presented. And John, I don't know if you want to add anything.
I would just add that there's discussion in there about energy savings, but the point is this equipment is end of life and needs to be replaced. And the fact that we're getting some savings is a kind of a bonus because it's like, you get a new car. Well, the old one was shot. The new one gets better mileage, but the old one was shot. So it needed to be done.
Thank you. Board, any additional questions? Hearing none, Board, I need a motion and a second to approve the facilities approval consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Long, seconded by Mr. Rutledge. Ms. Hutchison, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Rutledge,
Yes.
Mr. Derby,
Yes.
Ms. Blattner,
Yes.
Ms. Cullivan,
Yes.
Ms. Evison,
Yes.
Yes. We are on to the policy approval consent agenda, and we have 5 revised policies for approval. Policies 1.20, 2.80, 2.130, 7.140, and 7.300. Board, are there any items that members want removed from the policy approval consent agenda tonight? Hearing none, Dr. Schuler, any additional information?
No additional information. These were posted at your last meeting. We haven't received any comment on them, so we recommend approval tonight.
Thank you, Board. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none. Board, I need a motion to approve the policy approval consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Cullivan,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Blattner. Ms. Hutchison, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Cullivan,
Yes.
Ms. Blattner,
Yes.
Mr. Derby,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Ms. Evison,
Yes.
Mr. Rutledge,
Yes.
Mr. Hamlin.
Yes. We have no action items tonight, so we're going to move on to the oral reports portion of our agenda. And we have 2 oral reports tonight. The first oral report is on the referendum debt issuance update. Dr. Schuler?
As Dr. O'Keefe makes his way to the podium, this is a topic that your Finance Committee has been working on for the last couple of months, their last couple of meetings. And we're actually extremely pleased to be bringing this to you a year earlier than we had originally anticipated. You might remember, as we were going through the middle school referendum, we anticipated 2 bond issuances of about equal amount, but it actually anticipated an additional year between the 2 bond sales. Reason why that work has been pushed up is the board is well aware as we design the timeline for the project with your architectural team, we worked hard to move substantial completion of all the work up by an entire year. So originally, we looked at substantial completion of your projects by summer of '28, and that's now been pushed up to summer '27. That's necessitated us beginning to work earlier on the second issuance of bonds. So, Dr. O'Keefe.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Schuler. We'll need the team to move things along here a little bit to even stuff out. It looks like this is oversized for the presentation tonight, but this is a recap of what's specifically coming out of, guys, hopefully you can get this level. Thank you, appreciate it. Coming out of our discussion with the Finance Committee just 2 weeks ago. We'll start with a recap of the first debt issuance, which occurred this past March. As you see in your handout and on the screen, a significant interest in the subscription as a whole. We actually had a very, very tight window in terms of the number of basis points between the lowest bid and the highest bid. Actually had 12 bidders. JP Morgan Securities was the low bid. That bid actually came in 50 basis points below where the projections were, and just based on either when you consider market conditions and then the fact that we anticipate being AA+ rated again as we go through the second issuance and the interest in the first issuance, I would expect some tight and narrow ranges in terms of the market and what is interested. Certainly interest, as I switch to the next slide, guys, if you wouldn't mind moving it up, thank you so much. Things have changed a bit in terms of the economy and where the interest rates are at. Pretty significant spike in the 20-year rate. That's the green squiggly line there at the top. That was certainly incited by all the tariff discussion that happened at the federal level. Things have calmed a bit, but in these specific projections, we've got interest rates at a tick rate, meaning a total interest cost rate, a little bit more than 4.1% built into this model as a whole. We'll see exactly where things end up, but that would be, somewhere near 60 basis points above where we ended last time around. But there is good news and a silver lining as Dr. Schuler began discussing it. So if we just talk about the referendum plan of finance as a whole, our original plan was issue for 15 years, first issuance, wait 2 years, do the second issuance, so a total of 17 years because of the acceleration of the projects and all the work that began this summer. We've moved that to a total of 16 years in aggregate. What it means is we're accessing money sooner, meaning there are interest costs sooner associated with it, and we're shortening the total time frame of the debt payments by 1 year as a whole. That's going to potentially increase what we anticipate our annual payments to be. But as you'll see, it's actually going to be an advantage to the district long-term unless there's any significant movement in the market. One thing we're also going to do that was codified by the Finance Committee, you're going to have about $2 million by the time we make our first principal payment for this issuance, which is expected to be next fall after the issuance in January. You'll have about $2 million remaining in your bond and interest fund from all of your prior referendum. That is a combination of interest earnings over a long period of time, and then the 1% loss for cause that's extended by the county as it relates to the tax levy. There are some certain things that you can do with it, but the simplest thing to do and the most beneficial thing to do is to take those $2 million, apply it as an additional principal payment as a whole that gets made in advance of the first regular payment, which reduces your interest cost long-term, and certainly is as we'll see here in just a second, a pretty significant advantage. What that does is you look on the screen here, that's the yellow part, the $2 million is the yellow part. So once this debt is issued, we've got a nice smooth track throughout the total of 15 years as a whole. It allows for consistency, and when you think of this long-term as it relates to the total levy, the actual levy portion, the bond and interest portion of the total levy is going to shrink over time as the operational levy continues to. So those rates will actually decrease over time. But what's planned based on the issuance here, this coming January, you'll see the timeline here in just a few minutes. Nice, smooth, non-lumpy, consistent payments on the bond and interest fund over time. One thing, I'm actually going to skip ahead just to kind of like the, I guess, the back page of the book, if you will, the story, and then go back to the changes as a whole. So if you look in the blue column that indicates referendum campaign, these were assumptions made just about almost a year and a half ago now, but issuing our first issuance, which was 76 million this past March, and then waiting almost 2+ full years to do the second issuance, we were getting to almost a $210 million aggregate cost for those two issuances. That's all in. That's fees, interest, everything associated with it. That was just based on the assumptions, about a $12.35 million annual payment, equal over time, which was about 5.6 cents in the bond and interest fund, and to the average median homeowner, which at that point in time was about $400,000, meant roughly a $71 savings as a part of their overall tax bill, not a $71 savings on the tax bill itself, because this is purely the bond and interest side of things. If you look now at where we're projecting things to be, which is the column to the right, so that's moving up the second issuance by certainly a year and a half in terms of comparison, same dollar amount. When we look at the overall estimated total debt service, it's close to $1.25 million estimated to be below in aggregate, so more than $1 million in anticipated savings, assuming market holds firm by the time we issuance in January. That does elevate our annual payment because we've got 1 year less of time that we're paying this over, and it does change the estimation in terms of the total savings in terms of the pennies related to the tax levy on the bond and interest side, and then savings to the total median homeowner. But I'll go back, and there's a distinct explanation around that. One thing that was not available at the time that these assumptions were put together in March of 2024 is the EAV related to the 24 tax levy. Once you factor that into it, because as equalized assessed value increases, the overall burden across the board changes too, because those dollars get shifted throughout. So from updating the EAV into this formula, that resulted in a $5 change. If we talk about changes in the market from the assumptions, that's an offset to that, because that's different from what was planned back when these assumptions were put together nearly 18 months ago. Since we're accelerating the pace of construction, that's another factor built into the total. And then certainly, as you look as a whole, applying that $2 million from the bond and interest fund is also an additional factor. So in aggregate, when we presented this information to the public back in March of 24, there were assumptions built into it, and those assumptions have changed over time. So the significance in terms of the average homeowner savings has changed, as it would with fluctuations in those assumptions. But the good news is, in aggregate, the total dollars associated with these two anticipated debt issuances, that comes in lower than what was actually shared with the public just nearly 18 months ago.
And I think important to note that it's 1 year earlier that all debt is paid off, which again gives future boards, future communities opportunities at that point that again, if you think back 10 plus years to a debt picture that was kind of all over the place and ski sloping up, it really bound the hands of kind of future boards. So this gets you to a point in the future a year earlier, which I think is important to acknowledge in that.
Agreed, and thank you. So timeline as a whole, we're introducing this to you this month, just in case there's any questions that come up that we can answer in the next 30 days. We'll actually be bringing the board parameter resolution for the second issuance to you for approval at your board meeting next month. As of now, the plan is to sell the bonds as early as possible in the first part of the year. There's been a distinct appetite in the market for access to good credit and good investments in the first part of the year. We were looking at the second week. We've actually backed it up to the first week of the month, not only of the month, but also the calendar year. The other flip side to it is typically there's a lot of money available to be invested at that point where things have flipped over the calendar year. So we do anticipate that being advantageous to you, the board, and the community. So as of now, we plan on selling, I believe the 6th is a Tuesday in January. We close the bonds roughly 30 days later. And then after that, we'll actually bring the bond recap. The finance committee will see it in advance, but we'll bring the bond recap back to the board at its March meeting next year. So based on the assumptions that we have now, where we're looking ahead the next few months, there certainly is a lot of work from the business office team, our partners at PMA, your partners at Chapman and Cutler. There's a lot to put together in terms of the time frame, which is why it takes several months to get to the point before we actually issue. Those documents that get put together end up being several hundred pages long, lots of legal information contained within it as a whole, but the timeline looks great. We're confident in our partnerships with both PMA. We certainly have a great track record, even most recently this year with them and Chapman and Cutler, and hope to bring even better positive news back to the board when it's time to put this through. Questions?
Just two comments to add based on the Finance Committee discussion of this. You did touch on our priorities as we looked at different scenarios were really to reduce the total net debt service to the taxpayer, to the community, retire the debt earlier, and none of that precludes finding further savings in the future through refinancing. So that was really kind of the imperative, though, was to reduce that total net debt service. The second item related to the discussion of the bond and interest fund. If you recall, last time we had excess interest available, we abated that directly to the taxpayer. Our rationale was that it was a taxpayer's money. That hasn't changed. As we looked at what we could do with that money, though, by using that as a principal payment, it actually magnifies the impact and is more beneficial to the taxpayer. And so that was the rationale behind applying the interest to that principal payment rather than directly abating it.
$2 million, yes. One other quick note at the end, just for reference purposes, nothing for discussion tonight. You obviously have interest earning on your first debt issuance, and you're going to have interest earnings on your second debt issuance. You are required to use those interest earnings within the 3-year window. As a whole, they must be used on capital projects. They don't have to be used on the middle school capital projects if they're not necessary to support the middle school capital projects. So as time progresses and those earnings continue to get added on top of each other, we'll update the board on where that's at. And then when it's appropriate, bring back a discussion around how potentially, if those dollars do not have to be invested in the middle school capital projects, where they could be invested for consideration in the future. But they must be invested in capital projects. You cannot use them for anything else.
Regarding the changes to the tax bill change for the median homeowner, how do we plan on packaging this for communication? Like this is dense, but if people have questions, how are we going to simply explain that?
The challenge is trying to get everybody to understand all the nuances that happen throughout and the variables that are in play. Hopefully I did a decent job of articulating that tonight, but I do think it's probably going to have to be something that is simple in nature, as you say, Julie, but might need some form of audio attached to it, or something that just provides some deeper background where people can go through that on their own instead of just looking at a single page. It's difficult to articulate the amount of different variables that are built into this. We can identify exactly how we're getting to these results and what the expectation looks like, but as you say, and you're accurate, and I agree with you, getting that in a clean, clear message is something we're just gonna have to work through.
And I feel like one of the bigger sound bites there is just because of the way we've approached this, we're paying it now across 16 years rather than 17 years. And while that will increase that initial cost, it reduces over the life of the loan the amount of interest we spend. So I would hope most people could appreciate that when they compare it to their own mortgages on their homes or things like that.
So I have a question about that. What would the average debt service payment be that the $71 relates to? That payment annually.
So that's the $12.3 million.
No, but so the $71 that we projected, that's now $49. What is that total piece that average taxpayer would say on their bill? $49 of $300 of
No, it would just be, well,
$1,200?
it's hard to say because every tax bill is different. It's based on a different criteria. So this is just the bond and interest portion of the tax bill.
Right, that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, the bond and interest payment, that
Dave,
$49.
we'd have to go back and get that for
Yeah.
you. So, I mean, we don't
Just-
have that tonight.
okay.
So, but I
I'm
know what
just
you're.
looking for a ballpark
No,
number
I know.
because the average, so we're gonna pay, because in effect, the change from 71 to 49 is almost, it's driven by the accelerating of the borrowing so that we're paying quicker, but then at the end, you have a year of savings, and I was just curious what that.
Yeah, I think we based it on the average, on a median price though, right?
Yeah.
So that's all kind of based on an average.
Right. But we had that average to get to the 71 and
Right.
49.
There's a number. We
Oh,
just have
it was-
to get it for
sorry,
you.
Sorry, you're getting $400 to the average homeowner is what it was.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's right. Thanks, that's what, and then just on slide 7, this graph, I just want to make sure that what I think it says is right. On the first 3 blue lines on the left, that 2024 is the last payment, and then the blue lines from the right forward are the bond issuance we did last year.
Correct. So your existing debt, which is, so prior referendum debt,
Right.
which was just paid off not 2 weeks ago, are the blue bars from 2022, 23, and 24.
Yeah.
So the most recent one was attached to the 24 tax levy. The 25 version of the blue bars is related to the issuance in March.
Yep.
Then the green bars would be related to the issuance that's coming January. The yellow aspect is the $2 million additional principal payment, but it's not an extension of taxes to the community.
Okay, thanks, I just want to make sure that that's what it meant. Thank you.
John?
Yes, I have 2 or 3 here, and they're probably dumb questions. The easy one first. What's LY? Like LY 2025, LY 2024?
Probably levy year.
Levy year, yes.
Oh, levy year, okay. Then on page 9, down at the bottom, notes, scenarios, et cetera. Can you explain that? Why would they be getting a higher fee because we're advancing the issuance?
Sorry, which number are we looking at?
The last note on
Page 9, the note at the bottom.
That's a question I'd have to check on with PMA.
Yeah, yeah, I get your point.
Yeah. I mean, the greater portion was actually the first time around, but we'll clarify with PMA what that exactly means.
Thank you. And the other observation I'm making, maybe I'm missing something, but it seems to me that we've got 2 issuances of 15 years each. And the way they overlap, we're going to do 16 years instead of 17, but each of the issuances is still 15 years. We got 15 years of debt and 15 years of interest on that debt.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how it can, taking the total from 17 to 16 shouldn't make any difference on the total debt service. We're just compressing it.
Well, the difference is we're issuing that second, so that the second issuance that we anticipate this coming January is happening about 18 months before what was built into the model for the second issuance. So that we're actually bringing interest expense into the conversation sooner and then lopping off the back end of that. So it's not quite, I mean, there's a balance to it. The balance as of this point, based on what is run in the model, is a benefit to you with being a lower total overall cost. But the second debt issuance is also not going to have the same interest rate as the first debt issuance.
Well, different interest rates is one thing, but the fact that it's 16 years instead of 17, in each case, the money's borrowed for 15 years. It's just, I don't see how the,
so-
we
Well,
haven't
there was
saved
good-
a year anywhere.
Yeah, can I try, I think, with this, John? So the overall strategy always was to take the two 15-year issuances and layer them on top of each other so that you had a level payment over the 17 years. Same strategy, but you're now compressing those 17 into 16 with a level payment, so it's bringing that number up.
I got to think about that. Okay, thank you.
Right? It would, I think in my mind, unless I'm wrong, be equivalent to if you took that aggregate amount, right, the $151.5 million, and you did it in one kind of borrowing structure, and you borrowed that over 17 years versus 16 years, it's going to adjust what your annual payment is based on the number of years that debt's being paid it back over. That makes sense? If you're paying that back over 16 instead of 17 years, annual payment's going to go up.
But that second tranche wasn't going to be borrowed as early either, so there wouldn't be any interest at the beginning.
It wasn't, but again, you are still compressing all of those debt service payments into 16 payments in total versus 17 payments.
I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on this.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
So at one point, there was a spreadsheet that laid it out, and then when we saw that, that made sense to me. That helped, just in terms of an illustration. Maybe we pull that back out.
That spreadsheet's still around.
Yeah.
okay.
That was helpful, though, back when we were first talking about it.
One, the other thing, John, is we are putting that $2 million of interest income into it.
Well, and it also sounds like we don't have a choice if we're moving the work up earlier. Like, we have to condense the length of payment, right?
You do, again, I guess we looked at a couple of different scenarios just for clarity. One of them that still looked at the aggregate payback over 17 years, where in essence then on your second, this one that you're looking at now, you would do that as a 16-year debt repayment, right? It would have still matched the original design that would have had you as 17 years to pay it back. So, John, I think you're looking at two separate issuances, right, and sort of dealing with them as independent events, which they are. But at the end of the day, you still have two different debt issuances, each represented by a different color, that lay on top of each other with a goal of a level payment all the way out over whatever the length of time is. And so, again, one of the other options that Finance Committee looked at is if you still honored that original 17-year projection by adjusting it, again, you would have actually, that number would have shifted, right? 49 would have went back up closer. There was even a scenario that was a little bit higher, but you're paying a couple $1 million more because of the length of.
I see that now in terms of leveling out the payments over the 16 years. Fine. Thank you.
I have two little questions. Going back to the note that John was referring to, I may be misunderstanding this, but I think that what it's saying is that if the debt is issued before we spend it, like in that scenario where there's a more significant period of time between issuance and spending, the investment manager would have a higher fee because there would be more investment being done before we use that money.
Certainly, if the debt is issued and it's sitting earning interest,
So I think that's what the note is referring to.
we'll check with BMA. That's
Okay.
just to make sure that's accurate. But yes, as soon as the debt is issued, we're not going to need the second tranche here immediately, but we're going to need it next year. And we've got to make sure that we do the issuance within the time frame that allows us to include it in the 25 tax levy so we can set up exactly what it is that we're presenting to you.
Okay, thank you. And then at what point are the investment earnings of $2.5 to $2.75 million realized?
Well, I mean, we have to spend them or obligate them within the 3-year window of each debt issuance. So it would be March of 2028 for the issuance that happened early this year. They are realized all the time. they're in your monthly financial report. So those dollars are earned and captured in your monthly financial reports. How we spend them and when we spend them is certainly up for discussion, along with what we're spending them on. But the criteria around the obligation and or spend is within a 3-year time frame.
Is there any consideration to taking those funds and putting it back to principal?
These are non-taxable bonds, so we're not allowed by IRS tax code to take that interest and apply it as a principal payment.
Okay, that makes sense.
You can apply it as an interest payment. That doesn't help you, doesn't help the taxpayer, but the IRS will not allow you to use that as a principal payment.
Okay, thank you.
I think, Angela, the point on when it'll be realized is simply the difference between what we get in hand from the issuance until we spend it on the work. So when the work is done and paid for, that's the money will all be gone at that point, and there'll be no future. So it'll be realized, collected before the last.
But I think this is referring to the interest income, right?
Right,
So,
yeah, you asked when it would be realized, and it will start to accrue when we get the money, and it'll stop accruing when we've spent it all on the
Correct.
improvements.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Thank
I mean,
you.
in the grand scheme of things, it's already realized. Gets realized in your financial statements every month. The difference will be when the second issuance occurs. Then we have to keep track of the two issuances, especially if arbitrage is involved in the second issuance, meaning your cost of borrowing is less than the cost of what you're earning on those investments.
And John, to your point, I believe we could reinvest as interest earnings while we wait to spend them, but we've only got that limited window to spend them.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Our second oral report tonight is the IASB resolutions report. So Dr. Schuler?
Yep. So with your board packet, shared with board members, the resolution report, Mr. Jerpy will serve as your representative at the Delegate Assembly this year. I believe the goal of conversation tonight after your first read of them, just as a reminder, whether it is an actual resolution for like proposed legislation to be considered, or in this case, there was actually only one of those. There were a number of potential constitution changes to their bylaws. There's always a recommendation from the committee that's put this together, and I think generally we've kind of geared this first conversation just toward making sure that the board had an opportunity to identify any areas you need additional information and or areas where you have perhaps an initial instinct not to support the recommendation coming from the committee, so that if need be, Eric can get some additional information for you. You have one more meeting before the conference in the Delegate Assembly, so you don't have to make this decision tonight, but just to help Eric understand any areas you need more info. So.
And the only thing I would add, and it's more of a reminder for the community, there's always some questions as this comes up about why are we as a board involved in legislative activity, and we aren't. IASB serves as essentially a lobbying body in this regard. School boards across the state have the opportunity to put resolutions together to suggest what IASB do in terms of that lobbying activity. And so this is our opportunity to indicate whether we're supportive or not supportive of those particular resolutions. I did attend a webinar related to this content, very different than the last 2 years. There's almost no general resolution activity. There's essentially one item related to school buses. The rest of the activity is related to IASB's internal governance, their constitution. I did not, from the webinar or the content, see anything that's really of any material interest to us. There was one item, it's item 9 under the constitutional items, which just rubs me the wrong way. It's essentially giving IASB the right to suspend their constitution in an emergency situation. But again, I think it's rather immaterial to us. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to try and go back and get answers.
On your webinar, did they talk about why the number of, what would you call that second group?
The constitutional items or
No.
the actual resolutions?
Yeah, those, why there weren't any? Because usually it's really active, right? It's almost crazy how many there are.
No, they didn't, and honestly, I didn't think to address it during the call, but
Yeah.
afterwards, I was kind of reflecting on the fact that it's almost shocking that districts did not bring more things forward.
There's usually a gap between downstate and
Yeah.
north, the northerly districts.
And I mean, the particular item on there, the support for the costs associated with the school bus-related legislation, I think does reflect that gap where some lower-income downstate districts need some support covering those costs, but again, nothing from our area.
And the section that gave you pause was declared emergencies. Is that the one?
Correct, and that may be reasonable and customary, but just the notion of a body that arguably represents us basically saying they can suspend the Constitution and do their own thing in the event of those, just again, gave me pause.
Any feedback from board members? You'd like questions you'd like Eric to ask at his next opportunity? We appreciate you serving in the role.
Assuming the constitutional amendments pass, they will be looking for alternate delegates in future years.
Noted. So you're telling me availability is a skill set?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. All right, board members, any other questions? Okay, great. Committee reports. We had a board facilities meeting on October 6th, and the notes are included in the back packet and on the agenda. Mr. Long, any additional comments?
I already commented on the performance services contract. We spent some time looking at potential solar projects, and we're going to revisit it in the spring for a couple of different reasons. There's some significant cost associated with it. The current panels that are used are coming from China, and their availability is going to stop at the end of the year. So we don't know what the real cost may be related to that. And because there's a cost and we have to figure out how we would fund it if we chose to do it, we want to wait till the 5-year forecast is updated. So we know, we don't want to, so we have some of that in our pocket when we just, when we make a decision if we want to bring that forward or not. The other thing that we talked about was the high school master facility plan. I think we talked about that last month. And so Perkins and Will is going to do a proposal for developing an athletic master facility plan, and that'll come to us in the next month or two.
Thank you. Our board finance committee met on September 20th.
Sorry, I do have
Oh, go ahead, Derek.
a comment. I know I've been a proponent of exploring the solar, so I appreciate that you took a look at that. I guess I'm a little surprised we're looking at scenarios that are asset-based with us potentially buying panels. It seems like other districts predominantly are doing either solar lease agreements or power payback agreements to minimize the investment and the ongoing maintenance by the district. And so I'm just curious as to whether there's a reason we didn't explore that or whether that's an option to look at as this progresses.
We did. I think, Eric, if you look at districts now that are doing solar, they're not doing it through power purchase agreements. Reason for that is that when we originally explored that for Bauer, the tax incentives did not apply to non-for-profits. They now do. So there are incentives that basically make it more lucrative for us to actually own the panels, which, again, I think for you as a board, if you're going to put solar on your roof, absent finances that don't make sense, I think you're better to own it because then you own the asset that sits on your roof. So now, if you look at some of the models, what was kind of a 13-year return on investment if you own them outright is now down to a 6-year ROI. So there's some financial models that make sense, but again, assuming that you can manage the outlay that's around it and or consider some degree of financing to help with that. So it just makes sense more financially now to do it individually because of the RECs. That's also the reason, the timing, because there is a defined deadline where those are potentially going to go away. That's the reason if we're going to look at it, we got to look at it in the spring.
Would there be a special skill set required by our maintenance department, though, to maintain an asset like that? And do we have that skill set?
No, I mean, there will be some maintenance on it, but I think you're going to get some support through whoever installs them and whatever entity you work with. So from what I understand, again, I don't anticipate major problems around maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to add to that, I would rather have our people on our roofs than strangers on our roofs.
Thank you.
Available.
The Board Finance Committee met on September 24, 2025, and the meeting notes were attached. Mr. Jerpy, any additional comments?
No, it was covered in the earlier item.
Thank you.
Anything, Katie, that you want to add?
Reports from board members. Are there any other reports that board members would like to discuss? We had 4 written reports provided to the board: our monthly financial report, our FOIA report, our board communication log, and our Citizens Advisory Committee report. They're posted. We're on to topics for future discussion. We have 2 topics for future discussion right now: the 2025 tax levy and the middle school capital projects. Board, are there any additional topics that members want considered for future discussion?
Rob?
Yeah.
Just want to put it perhaps on the HR Policy Committee to review the topic that was brought up in public comment this evening about the flag placement
Okay,
policy.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Our next regular board meeting, any other topics, board? Okay. Our next regular board meeting will be on November 12th at 7 o'clock at Emerson Elementary School. The next committee of the whole meeting will be on October 22nd, 2025 at the School Service Center. And there is no closed session tonight, so there being no further action to come before the board, I need a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Jerpy. Second by Mr. Rutledge. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Our meeting's adjourned. Thank you.